What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Rejig Beam podcast. I'm here joined once again by my lovely wife, Melissa. You can say something.
Hi.
All right, and today we have our very first guest. You guys might think my wife is my guest, but today we have an actual guest. It's not even in this room, ladies and gentlemen, all the way from the ancient ruins of Mesopotamia, Mr. Ervin. Say hello.
Oh man. Hello, everybody. It's nice to be here in Mesopotamia. Beautiful sunny skies. Water's fresh. Air's clean.
We discovered the number 0. I don't know.
Did we?
Oh, I don't know. That's the thing. I'm pretty sure I saw that on a PBS special or something like that.
Mesopotamia.
Only PBS would make a whole special about the number 0.
Dude, PBS is the shit, man. PBS got me through some very tough times.
Did it?
In my life.
Tell us.
Just kidding, actually.
No, just kidding. I don't have no troubles.
Well, you really like PBS.
I did. I do.
You do?
Yeah.
PBS is great, dude. Cyber Chase, Zaboomafoo.
No. I'm all talking about like the documentaries and stuff, like Neil deGrasse Tyson. He's like, oh, yeah, like those little kid shows we used to watch. No, but that was a great show. Huh?
Now, since like Netflix and YouTube and stuff, I don't have to go to PBS for my documentaries and stuff,
True.
But the good old days, Zaboomafoo, the Crap Brothers, freaking, even Curious George was all right. But Cyber Chase, that was the show.
Curious George is more, I think it's like more recent. I was actually going to post something not about Curious George, but because we're talking about PBS. I was actually going to post something on my Instagram or something about that Arthur episode where they parodied South Park, and they parodied South Park, Beavis and Butthead, Dexter Laboratory, and I think Daria.
I have no idea.
You didn't know that? You didn't know this thing?
I've never seen that.
What?
Arthur did that?
Yeah, dude, they did.
Dude, that's edgy.
I'm serious.
That is edgy.
It was like an episode where they were they were trying to write a story to win a contest. And everybody wrote a story, but like every story they told was like in a different animation style. So like the one Buster's was like in a. By the way, if you don't know who Buster is that bunny. The rabbit had like one about South Park, and then the brain had one about Dexter's Laboratory.
I feel like I don't even know my life anymore.
Dude,
I don't know.
Dude, it was dope. It was dope. If we can find it like on Netflix, I think Arthur's on Netflix. We can check it out.
Is it really? I'm gonna check right now.
It might be. The new animation, I'm not a big fan of, because now they're doing like that Flash animation.
What is it?
It's just like I don't know, because like traditional animation kind of has like a flowy movement to it. Does that make sense? But like this one's kind of stiff. Like everybody's limbs are kind of stiff. It looks like.
I always thought that Arthur. Wait, what? I always thought Arthur was like just hand drawn.
No, yeah, but like I'm saying, like, I don't know if you remember playing like those Flash games like in the computer where like all the animation was kind of like, oh, dude, remember that game we used to play? That we played on the computer for a second, and like we had to. It was kind of like a stupid quest type thing where you had to, like you would upgrade your character and like you would just like hit like monsters like over and over again. Don't you remember we played that game?
You would hit like with the little blue guys, the Zulu something.
Yeah. And then like like it'd be like, all right, you gotta attack.
On my Hot Wheels computer was like
no,
Windows 92 or something.
No. That was a different thing. That was awesome. We used to play. For those of you who don't remember, this game was called Kid Pix, and it was just like it was like paint, but like on steroids. Like you'd have like all these ways to erase. Like you can like throw like a stick of dynamite, and it would like.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah. And then there was like this one that me and Ervin loved, and it was like a weird window, and it would just like open and be like, wow! Remember that?
Oh yeah, dude, you got that perfect.
Dude, thank you. Yeah, if any Kid Pix fans want me to do a live reading of that, $5.
That's one thing about you, dude. You're really good at remembering the theme songs and the sounds of all the shows that we ever watched. All
useless information.
Yes, all useless. But you tell them to remember something useful.
That's about as useful as it gets.
I mean, if I can't put that on my resume, I don't know what can I.
You probably could. They just bust out in the middle of an interview and start singing. How does the Arthur song go again? So sorry about that. Thank you, Greg.
Dude, you got it. That was spot on.
I forgot the words though. Open up your eyes, open up
there
your
you
ears,
go,
get
there you
together
go.
and make things better by working together.
And then copyright
it's a simple
strike.
message.
And then it's like
right, just
copyright
stop there
strike.
before we...
And then we just like copyright strike. This podcast is not airing. By the way, this is the second time we try to get you on the show, and because the first time you decided to clean your house while you recorded, because you know you're completely unprofessional. No, I'm just kidding.
You know, man, I really, it's because the iPhone headphones are actually pretty good, and I thought I would be able to get away with it. And I thought my internet connection was better than it was, but apparently Cricket doesn't have that great internet connection.
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought, right? I mean, it's pretty good. I can watch my videos pretty quick, and nothing's like bad. But a friend of mine, they did like a speed test on the phones, and it turns out T-Mobile's way faster.
So there you go, guys. This video is sponsored by Cricket, which probably just dropped us right now. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. They just dropped this one. Hey, man. Well, I wanted to talk to you about because you before we went for
that was a
6
quick
minutes.
Switch, dude.
Yeah, right.
That was a quick transition.
I'm trying to keep it, organized. We're 6 minutes in. We haven't talked about anything with substance. No, but I wanted to talk to you. What's been going on with you, man? I know you went to Seattle recently. You're trying to be a cocaine dealer or something like that? No, I'm kidding.
Oh man, that job would be so much easier, I would imagine, to get.
In your field, particularly, right?
It'd be a lot easier to get that job, but just kidding. No, yeah, I went to Seattle because I have this dream, which is pretty crazy, of becoming a cop, which nobody wants to do nowadays, apparently. So where do you want me to start? Like, do you want me to tell you why I wanted to be a cop, or just why I went over there?
Well, we had kind of discussed it. We don't have to get into the nitty gritty here because then we're going to be here for hours. But I know you you had discussed. What happened to my voice just then? We had discussed that you wanted to be a cop, but I know this last time around. Well, I know you had gone to an interview, right? And you said it went pretty good, pretty well.
Right.
Decent. And then you stayed over there for a couple of days, and you said you were going to go back to see if you got it or not. So I went to your mom's house. Well, I went to go see your mom real quick, and then she told me that you came back kind of like disappointed. So I kind of assumed that you didn't get it, but I didn't want to like assume that. So what happened? Did you get it? Did you not get it? What happened?
Well, I didn't get it, unfortunately. So let me tell you. That was like genuine surprise. You see, that's why I didn't want to tell you till the No, that is exactly the reaction I was looking for.
Boom, Oscar nomination right there.
Well, it's because the thing is this, watch. Let me just tell you here. Like, so my ultimate goal is to become an FBI agent, right? So that's like my ultimate goal. So that's why I went to school for 4 years, got my criminal justice degree with a minor in biology. Now I'm getting my master's in business administration, because these are all things that can help me become an FBI agent. Never guaranteed. Like, this is a career that, like, you might make it, you might not make it. So you kind of just do what you can, do the best you can, and whatever jobs you can get, whether that's law enforcement or some kind of supervisor position or anything, even a school teacher, a lot of different areas. So what they say is just get a job that you can be your best at and that you actually enjoy, in case you don't make it, so that you're still doing something you like, right? So I decided to apply for the police departments, and I've always had this idea of working in a big city, because I just want to experience that big city vibe, and I mean, big cities experience more different crimes and different situations that I might not get. I mean, although El Paso is like not a small city, a city like Seattle, you're going to see different stuff. So I had told you I went on my first interview over there. So basically you go two trips. The first trip consists of your basic written test, your physical test, your oral board interview with the police, like different police officers and members of the community, and then lastly your background check. So I had already passed all that, which is in many people's eyes the hardest part, because you have to in the oral board interview, you have to answer questions to all types of scenarios, in situations. And in the background check, there's so many reasons for them to not hire you. So I had already passed all that. So then on the second trip, they scheduled me for the polygraph, which is the lie detector, for psychological test, for physical test, which they check. They do an EKG on you, and they check your heart and other parts of your just health, and they want to see you're a healthy person. Mm-hmm. And lastly is another physical check. So my first day was the polygraph, right?
Yeah.
And the polygraph, they base it on the questions on your background that they believe you need to infer more on, I think. So that's, I think, what they, because they're not obviously not going to ask you every single question on your background check, because there's a bunch. So that would take days if they were to do that.
And they still,
because even in this,
the polygraph is still considered like a valid way to see if you're lying or not, or I don't know if you
want to get into that. Some people figured out how to lie.
Yeah. I don't know how that works.
I mean, maybe there is people who know how to lie on it or not. But the thing is, before the test, they do ask you if you've researched any way to lie on it, or if you. And the thing is, I didn't really need to do that. Like I'm not lying about anything. I admitted to everything that they asked. Everything was on the table. So I didn't really feel the need to like, oh, well, maybe I should. So I don't really know if there is ways or not. But I mean, there might be. I don't know.
I mean, you wouldn't admit it.
I wouldn't. No, but yeah, I mean, the polygraphs, like, they're not admissible in court because there is, I think, room for error. So, like, in a case like that, like where you're sentencing on somebody, I don't think it can be used as a primary form of evidence. But as far as hiring goes, it can still be a valuable tool because people. When they go, like on the polygraph, say you're not admitting to something and you fail, because like in Seattle they gave me 2 chances, so I failed the first one and they were very insistent, like, well, there seems to be something you're not telling us, and I tried to think of anything that I possibly couldn't be telling them, and nothing came to mind. Like I really couldn't genuinely think of anything that I was like, man, I'm not saying this. So then the second time I went to go take the test, I tried to go in a little more confident. Like Cindy had talked to me and she's like, you don't have to feel bad about anything. Like anything you said, you admitted to it already. And even the detective, he told me, he was like, look, we're looking for big things like rape, murder. Do you have any dead bodies in your trunk? Like all this stuff. He's like, so just think about that when you're doing it.
Yeah, you're like, well, not today.
And I was just like, oh man, I don't know.
Like, man, you picked the wrong day to ask me that question.
Yeah, so they ask you four major questions, which each question is kind of like broken down. It's like a very general question, like, have you committed any serious crimes, for example? And along with that would be like homicide, rape, anything big like that. So you go into it, right? So then on each one of them, on my second test, I actually did worse than the first time, which either means I'm a rapist, a killer, a freaking drug dealer and all this stuff, or I'm having a hard time with the polygraph. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, even after the interview, the detective, he was like, hey, I mean, we liked you. We both think you'd make a great cop. Kind of like basically, it felt almost like they did want to hire me. Like I was already moving forward. He's like, but we really need you to pass this test. Like this is a pass or fail. Like we can't move you forward if you don't pass this first.
Yeah.
So then I took it the second time and I did worse. And I was just like, what the heck? Like I got pretty like just not upset, but just kind of like down on myself. I was just like, well, this seems to be out of my control. Like, I don't know what I need to do to be able to pass this thing. So, yeah, he told me, he's like, we're going to have to cancel your psychological test. Basically I can't move along in the process anymore because of that thing. Oh, and yeah, wow. I talked to Cindy and I was just like, I mean, of course you go through your moment of sadness of like, damn, I've been working hard for this, like, this dream of joining law enforcement and just having the opportunity to do something like that, but in something where it feels like it's out of your control,
Right.
And I was just like, I was just sad about it because, I don't know, like they hook you up with all these wires and like, I mean, they're monitoring everything, like from your sweat to your heart rate to your breathing. Yeah, to your breathing, to your, I don't know. They explained it pretty well.
I mean,
So
I probably
anything
do bad on that test too.
yeah, anything you feel like, even like I was sitting there, right, and he would ask a question, and I could see him from the corner of my eye, and it would make me panic a little bit, even though I wasn't lying about anything. For some reason, I felt like I had to convince him that I wasn't lying. Like I was like I was in a state of just like worry. I was like, man, like what if they don't believe me?
So you're like,
You
I
know, so
promise I haven't killed anybody. I promise.
yeah. So I think that's what triggered this thing of like that I was lying on the thing.
Right.
That I was just worried after every answer that he wasn't believing me, or I didn't think about like this idea of like, damn, like I don't know, because they ask you such deep questions. Go back to your past and be like, what the heck, like I don't know if I did that. Like, did you ever damage somebody's property, for example? And you're like, oh shit, like I don't know, did I ever damage somebody's property? Did I ever do something? You know what I mean?
Yeah, like you
So
start to second guess everything.
Yeah, so you start second guessing everything. And of course, I was in a new city, like a big city. Like the day before, we had actually someone broke into our car and stole somebody's purse. So I was still like a little bit rattled over that.
Oh wow!
I was like, oh man, like what the heck? Yeah, so it was a weird situation. So, now I have my test here in El Paso, my polygraph. They're gonna schedule it pretty soon. I'm not sure exactly when, but I have my polygraph test here. So I've been going to therapy because one of my friends in the MBA program, she's a therapist, and so she offered me, to go to her office. She's actually giving me free therapy. So
nice.
Thank you to Olivia. She's a badass for doing that. Because I'm pretty sure therapy is pretty expensive, right? Like, sure it's not cheap.
I mean, I lucked out. Well, I lucked out just because the therapy that I take is courtesy of the VA. So. But I would assume so that you pay quite a bit. I think they charge by the hour, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so she was nice enough to help me out with that, and we're basically going over the questions so that I can to normalize them so that I'm no longer thinking like, oh, is there more? Like she's basically trying to ingrain it in my head that like, you're not a bad person. Like this is all you've done. Really think about these questions so that there's no more nothing in your mind. Also, we're just kind of I'm talking to somebody like about your background and everything. It kind of just makes you relax because you're like, well, I'm not a bad person. Like, yeah, maybe like I smoked weed, 6 years ago, and I did this, or and then but talking about it is like, oh well. And even in the police department, like they're like, we don't really like everything I would admit to, like, oh, I did this day. They're like, we don't care about that. Like they really don't care about little stuff. They care, about the big stuff. So I need that's what we've been doing in therapy, just talking over that stuff and just trying to relax, trying to just normalize all these feelings. And she keeps telling me that I have a very strong moral compass just because I have a strong conscience. And also she's even she's kind of going deep into other stuff like maybe my religious upbringing because we were brought up Catholic, and as a Catholic you're always worried that you're like committing a sin or that you're doing something wrong. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you always feel like you have to convince people like, no, I'm not like doing anything bad. So she's thinking maybe like my religious upbringing might also have something to do with it, and that I might have maybe like some type of mild anxiety or something. I don't know. So I never thought I'd be going to therapy in my whole life, but this is something that this is my dream. So I need to do whatever I got to do to get what I've been working hard for. So yeah.
So are you gonna try going back to Seattle and doing that, or are you gonna?
The thing about Seattle, it was a big investment. I spent maybe like, I want to say like $2,000 just flying back and forth.
Wow.
Doing these interviews. So if I were to do it again, I'd have to really think about it. But I mean, really, my ultimate goal is FBI.
Yeah.
So I would love to work here in El Paso to get some really good experience. Some good experience under my belt, and then in the future, apply to the FBI and hopefully get it. Because in the FBI, they're looking for 3 things. Well, they're looking for more than 3 things, obviously, but there's 3 main things. Education, you have to have a 4-year degree. And of course, a master's is even better. It helps you out. You have to have minimum 2 years of professional experience. Police officers are great for that. Teachers, because basically when you apply to the FBI, you're you're at their disposal, I guess you could say. So they send you to wherever you basically. It's kind of like the military, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
That you put your wish list, and then you go whichever one they have a room. Yeah, like the bigger offices will hire you more often because they have a lot of room. So like offices like in San Diego or New York or anywhere in California or stuff. Like if you put those on your wish list, it's more likely you can get there. And also cities like El Paso here, because like I actually did a project for school where we went and interviewed a bunch of FBI agents, and a lot of them were from El Paso. So I guess when people apply, not a lot of them pick El Paso as their first choice. Yeah. So there's also a good chance that I'll stay here. And even Dallas is another option. Like Cindy said, if we ever move, like Dallas would be really the only option that she's like okay with, somewhere in Texas, because she doesn't really want to move. If we move, it's because it's my idea. So Dallas would be like the only spot that she's like kind of okay with. So yeah, they're looking for education, experience, and they're also looking for. You also have to be physically fit, and a people person more than anything. Like you have to be able to, because that's really what you're doing. You're dealing with a lot of people, and so yeah.
That's a tough job too. I mean, it's like customer service on steroids. You know what I mean? Like you're talking about, like you're being the full face. You're being the face of like an entire like concept, which is like justice and like protection. You know what I mean? Like to serve and protect. Like I think people take that for like, oh, well, it's just a guy running around telling people to get off people's lawns. But it's like you realize that, and I think there's a really cool book. I'm not trying to be an expert now because I listened to this book, but it's called, I think it's like 500 Things That Cops Know That Civilians Don't or something like that. And it's pretty cool. Like
that sounds cool.
Dude, it's pretty cool. Yeah, I read it on Audible, and it's like this like seasoned like captain, in the police department, and he talks about, like, you're the face of the entire police department. Whenever you put that uniform on, you go out there, you are the face. And so you think of it like in a good way, right? Like, oh, like people see you and hey, they respect you. And it's like, hey, that person is here to protect me. But you also look at it from a different perspective. When people are pissed off at the cops or the entire police department, and they see you, and it's like, hey, go F yourself. Like, and it's like, well, it's not me. Like, it's not me, Ervin, that's doing this. It's other cops, or, not even in this city or not even in this state. Yeah. But it's crazy. Like, that's a huge responsibility to take on. And I wanted to ask you, cause I don't know if whoever's listening to this maybe wants to be a cop, if there's something that you would do over again, like, or that you think would have helped you more if you did it. Is there something that you would recommend, like, to those who are trying to pursue the same career?
As far as like the interview process,
or just like preparation or something. Yeah. I don't know.
Preparation. Well, I honestly feel like I've prepared very well for this. Like,
okay.
The one thing that I wish I would have, is because I don't know how you can prepare for a polygraph exam.
Yeah.
Like,
well, really, not even the polygraph, but just like
going into law enforcement.
Or maybe you could talk about some of the things that you're glad that you did, like that you're like, oh, like if I hadn't done that, I would have been even more far behind or something.
I'm glad I did an internship with the police department. Like, that was cool because you get to actually, interact with the police officers on a daily basis. So you really get to hear what they like about their job, what they don't like. I think, if anybody wants to be a cop, I would say really talk to people who are already cops and ask them what they don't like and what they like, because you have to be sure that you really want it, because it's one of those things where it might not work the first time, might not work the second time or the third time. Like for me, this is already, like, I didn't make it to the El Paso PD the first time, second time, and then I applied to Seattle PD and I didn't make it over there. So now this is my fourth time trying to join the law enforcement. But the thing is, like, every time that I didn't make it, I never just sat there. I always had something else. Like the first time I didn't make it, they didn't tell me why I didn't make it. It just said recruitment complete. So I'm assuming that, there was just better candidates. So I went and got my bachelor's, right? Okay. And then the second time I applied, they have a 5-year marijuana policy. And I had been like 4 years and like 8 months since the last time I had smoked weed. So then, So then they're like, they kind of laughed at me. It was during my internship, and they're like, yeah, dude, I mean, it's a policy. He's like, but that's what they got you for. And they're like, just try again, man. And I was just like, yeah, all right. But then I was like, well, I think I should now get my master, to have more like of a backup just in case.
Right.
Police officer, it's also very easy to lose your job. Like, you make one mistake and you're done. Like, I have a few friends who, I mean, I probably shouldn't go into any stories or anything, but like, it's just not easy, to like keep that job. It is, and it's also very stressful, and it's easy to get injured if you're like chasing down some guy or I mean, you might get shot. So it's always good to have a backup.
For sure.
So I'm glad I have my master's now, and I'm about to finish, and I have that, so as a backup. And what was I saying? Oh yeah, and the Seattle one, yeah. I mean, dude, like, maybe you can prepare for a polygraph. Maybe you can do some research, as long as you're not trying to beat it, like doing countermeasures or anything like that. But maybe the best advice that I have for someone doing a polygraph is go in there. I mean, I failed it, so I mean, what kind of advice can I give, right? But
don't do what I did.
Just be sure of your answer. No.
Yeah, just go in there being 100% sure that you're going to be honest, and any silly thing that's in your head, like anything that might bother you that you think like, oh, that's nothing, like still say it, because they're going to like, so that when they ask you a question, there's no doubt in your mind. And see, I thought I did that because anything that they asked me, I answered everything. Like I didn't hold back anything. I was kind of like, well, this guy knows my whole life now, so. Up until then, like, only Cindy I had told a lot of these things to, and it's just like, well, now this guy knows. So it's like,
yeah.
All right. So,
do you believe that? Well, I'm not trying to like, I'm not, because I'm pretty sure you don't have any like hard feelings against these people or anything like that. But would you say that like your particular situation kind of made you feel like, hey, well, maybe this particular test, like maybe this is a good example of how that test can kind of be like flawed in a way, or like because you know what I mean? Like you just said that you went in there and you answered as honestly as you could, but like you still got, the machine kind of effed you up, So I don't know if you feel like, oh, well, maybe this isn't the best way to interview people.
No, I mean, of course, like right afterwards, like, I mean, I even teared up in front of the detective, because it was a very like frustrating moment of just, you're working so hard for something, and then for it to just something that just like another thing that you didn't think was going to be an issue.
Yeah.
She was like, well, now this is an issue. It is frustrating, but I've never liked to be like in a victim mentality.
Right.
You know what I mean? Where I'm like, oh man, well, the world is what it is, and it's not up to me to, change it. Like, right. I can only adapt.
You're only a citizen of the world.
Yeah, so I mean, if I want to change something, there's a process, to change everything. But as of now, the only thing I can do is adapt to whatever it is I need to do, and just don't complain and just adapt to whatever I got to do, and still succeed.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm going into this one a lot more confident. This, talking to everything with Cindy and this experience, and also the therapy has been really helpful. And just, I mean, I see this now as an opportunity even to like grow as a person, because now I'm getting to know myself a little better. I'm getting to know, like, you're kind of just reminiscing on your past and seeing the things that you've done and things that are back and think about all the bad stuff you've done. Like, you usually go back and think about like, oh man, those are nice memories or whatever it is. But like with this process, it really forces you to go back and analyze like stupid stuff you've done and be like, well, why did I do that? And then you're like, well, that's all I did, and I'm like, well, I'm not a bad person. Like, I'm not like, I'm not as bad as a person as I thought.
Yeah, I mean, you could be a rapist.
Or a murderer.
Right?
Or a murderer. Well,
Yeah.
at least we know that if you were one, you could get away with it. No, I'm just kidding. If they did a polygraph, you'd be fine. Dude, that's the hardest part of adulting, man. It's dealing with failure.
It is, but you know what? Another thing that my friend Olivia told me, she was like, don't think of this as a failure. She was like, it's just part of the process,
Right.
So that was really helpful thinking of it that way, because she's saying that she's noticed that our generation, the millennial generation, is very we're so instantly gratified by so many things that we're used to getting we want it, right?
Yeah.
So like this kind of stuff is normal, and if you don't really want it that bad, then you're not gonna get it. And of course, there's people who their very first time that they apply, like that's their life, good for them. Like no props to them. Like I'm happy for
Lucky
you.
them.
Yeah. So but all I can do is just focus on myself and focus on making myself a better person and achieving my goals. You know what I mean? So that's
Yeah, man. Everybody's gonna have, and whether you like it or not, that's gonna give you that unique perspective. That's gonna be, only yours. Whatever your career takes you, and like you'll have your own story, and I'll be like, hey, well, like this happened to me, or whatever.
Like, oh yeah, most definitely, dude. Yeah. Like now, I feel like when I get this job, it's gonna be just that much more satisfying and like that much bigger of an accomplishment, because it's like I worked so hard and finally like I got it. So I think just I read something somewhere where it's a lot of times achieving the goal isn't as satisfying as the process itself.
Yeah.
So
it's good to have that kind of mentality, because I think, there was a time, and I've been reading this book by Darren Brown, actually. Well, I don't read it. I just listen to it. When I say read, just assume that I'm talking about an audiobook.
Yeah, I think it's funny when you said that I read this. On Audible.
I read it on Audible. Like I read the title on Audible and I pressed play. No,
that's so much cooler, dude. Being able to listen to it, like, dude, I can't read books,
and also because like some people's voices sound way better than your own. Well, like I mean, because when I read to myself, like it's still my voice. Like even if it's in my head, I'm just like, oh.
So you should give yourself like a
dude. I've done it before. I did like Morgan. No, I do like Morgan Freeman or something. No, but Darren Brown, he's like awesome illusionist, but he does this thing called this book called Happy, where he just talks about like kind of like the psychology of happiness, like from like all different types of like philosophizers and all that stuff,
Yeah.
And he talks about like there was a time, I don't know if you remember this book called The Secret, where everybody was like getting it, and like the whole thing was like if you send out positive vibes, things will happen to you. And I think that's like a big problem that people always want to, like, when you think positive all the time, like that could be a bad thing too, because you're sitting there thinking like I just gotta think that I can get this job, and then when it doesn't happen, right? Then who do you blame? You blame yourself, right? Because the book tells you, well, if you weren't thinking positive enough. So it's a terrible thing to do to yourself when you just sit there and going like, I can do this, it's like a positive 100%, and then like when it doesn't go your way, then you're like, oh crap, like I'm a freaking failure, you know what I mean? Instead of being like, hey, you know what? Like I went out there and I did what I had to do. And like you said, like whatever failure you did, whatever shortcomings that you have, you're gonna use it to like empower you and say like, hey, I'm here, I'm queer. I'm just kidding. No, I'm here, and I'm gonna get this done. And like you said, once you get that job, wherever you do go, ICE or wherever,
FBI, dude.
FBI. I know, but like, because I thought you had to do the internship. Well. Sorry, I should just state, if in case your mom is listening to, your mom told me that you were gonna try to go to ICE or something like that. So that's why I said.
Oh yeah, my mom has all these plans for me. She thought I was gonna be a priest when I was like 13, and apparently I didn't know about this till she told a friend of mine, and he was like, "Hey, dude, I heard you were gonna be a priest." And I was like, "I don't think so, man."
You'd be like, "No, I'm gonna be an ordained minister with a gun."
Yeah, he was like, "Dude, he was like, yeah, dude, your mom's telling everybody that you're gonna be a priest." And I was like, oh my gosh.
Oh, bless your mom. I think you would make a fine priest. I was actually thinking about, because, by the way, the theme of this podcast, by the way, even though we're like 34 minutes in, it was supposed to be like adulting and like failure. But,
okay.
Because not that I was assuming that you failed, but now that you said that you didn't get it, I was like, okay, well then I can't title it that. Now it's failure. It was gonna be adulting and maybe failure. I was gonna no, but damn it, where was I going with that?
It's not a failure, Greg. It's part of the process.
No, it's part of the. Well, yeah, but it doesn't sound as catchy. You say
you should call it adulting and processing.
Adulting and part of the process.
Part of the process.
No, but darn it, I was gonna say something like of substance, and I'm over here talking about ridiculous stuff. Yeah, talking about adulting. Take it away.
What about
Ervin.
you, Greg? What did you
about
want
me?
to talk about? Adulting.
What about nah, man? Just the thing is that you make these decisions, and we've talked about this before. You and I, just like the different paths that you and I took. And I always tell people, like, I think the difference between me and Ervin and I is that he's like he's very methodical when it comes to these types of things. I mean, and of course anyone should be, because it's your life. You're talking about that thing that everybody in high school is like, this is the first day of the rest of your life, like whatever the hell that means. And you gotta like, oh wait, I'm supposed to pick something to do. Like I don't think a lot of people ever figure that out. I could tell you a lot of people in the military are still trying to figure that out. Like they're like, what are you gonna be doing in 20 years? Like, I'm gonna be in the military. And I'm like, okay, but you can't do this forever. This job only exists here in the military. It was really weird. It was really bizarre when I was leaving. Like how many people were kind of like, but what are you gonna do? Military, like that's all they knew. Like they were like institutionalized.
Why are you making that voice?
Because that's how everybody sounds in the military.
You sounded like the guy from Pineapple Express. Oh, what are you gonna do? I don't know.
Which guy? What are you talking about?
The guy where he's like
James Franco?
Where it's like, yeah, he goes into the thing and then he's like, it was Dale, and then Dale went to the I don't know what.
That was Seth Rogen. Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
How does he do it?
I don't know what to tell. Oh, and he's like, he freaking killed him, man. He freaking took a rope and he had a gun. And he sprays blood. Oh, and he like throws up on the printer. Okay. Okay. Well, no. But
he threw up on my printer. Gross.
Did you break it?
Did you break it?
That's a classic movie. By the way, if you guys don't want to know what Ervin looks like, he kind of looks like James Franco. And I think didn't you dress up didn't you dress up as him, like Saul from Pineapple Express?
Greg just said I look like James Franco.
Oh, is your
remember
girlfriend?
that one girl?
Which girl?
Actually, remember that girl you were trying to hook me up with? That you told her I look like James Franco. And then you sent her a picture of me.
Yeah,
and she was like, he doesn't look like James Franco.
Yeah. Melissa knows her too, but I don't want to say the name out loud. We'll just we'll call her. Let's see, what can we call her? We'll call her Polly.
Hooked me up with one of his friends a while back, and then he sent the girl a picture of me, and then she's like, "No, he doesn't," and then it just didn't work out. Whatever happened to that girl?
She's still around.
Cindy said she missed out.
She's still around. She's still around. No, but anyway, I don't know where I was going with that thing about adulting, and but no. So my journey, yeah. So like for instance, like I went the military route because like I felt like it was, I don't know, man, because you get to that point, like I asked a girl to marry me like right out of high school. So
what girl?
What girl? This girl right here. So like,
I'm assuming that was Melissa, right?
Yes.
Yeah, like I think I was
at least I hope so. That was the only girl you asked to marry.
Yes. That year.
How many girls did you ask to marry that day, Greg?
You don't want to know. But hey, you made it into the top 10, and then you were the number one.
Shut up. I was the only one stupid enough to say yes.
That other girl had stuff to do, so she told me. No, but I think don't you think it's kind of weird, like how, like for me, I was like a little bit more impulsive than you were, like kind of like adulting, like the adulting started kind of early, like I kind of was just like, let's go for it, right? And I kind of just did all these decisions without really thinking. Except, I mean, not that I didn't.
For you,
huh?
For you, it was different because, I mean, I don't know if you're cool with like sharing this, but with you, like, you weren't exactly like comfortable at home,
True. No, I agree.
So then maybe, and I know a lot of people like that too, that they're not comfortable at home, so then they go for like out of school, like out of town school, or they're trying to look for a way to leave. And for me, like luckily, although my mom can be a little crazy sometimes, I was okay with continuing my education at the house and also just continuing to do what I wanted rather than just leave quicker and make a rash decision.
Right.
So I think that was a big factor.
Well, yeah, you're right. But it's kind of like what I was saying, like, for me, it all kind of happened really fast. And it's interesting that now it seems like we're kind of
Going backwards.
like we're both, yeah, like it kind of went weird, like for us, like we did that route, and we did, everything was like fast, and like, oh, I was leaving all the time and I wasn't home, and but I had a job and I had a house and all this other stuff, and like you were sitting there and you were building that thing, like that nest, you know, you're building that plan, this strategy, like this is what's gonna happen, this is what I gotta do, and now it's like you're already almost about to reach that level where I was at. You know what I mean? Like you're kind of there, and like now I'm kind of like starting over. You know, like now I'm going back to school because all I know is high school. So I'm like, now I'm going to college, and I'm trying to I'm like, you know what I mean? Like you're farther up ahead of me now because I had all that time.
Then I want to go to college too, but I mean I kind of have to wait at the moment.
Yeah, the budget bubble, you know. No, I'm kidding. The budget bubble.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that me and Cindy's sisters and stuff talk about a lot is just how, I don't know, we all kind of feel like there's a process to life, like where you have to, where you go to school and then you do this, or you know, like if you're 26, you already have to have this, or if you're 27, you already have to have that. You know what I mean? Like, and that's like maybe a blueprint. Like, yeah, maybe that's something you should look at and be like, well, I mean, that's cool if I could be there, but I don't think it's something you need to necessarily follow and feel bad if you're not there. Like, for example, for me, my age, I should already, like, I'm 27. I should already have a house, a good job, and, like, you know.
But it's always,
I guess like, maybe a kid.
But I feel like the model, like the blueprint you're talking about, is always morphing, you know, because if you think about it, like back in the day, like in the 50s, like you were, like you all you did, like especially like for us men, like I'm not trying to exclude women or anything, but like for men, it was like customary. It was like you get out of high school and maybe you go to college, maybe you don't, but like you got to get yourself a job, like a stable job, and then that's it. You just work. You get your house. You have kids, and then you put those kids in a house, and you just pay off the house, and then finally, maybe when you're 55 or 65, you get to retire. And just like die from like tuberculosis or something, and like now it's kind of different. Like now it's like usually like most people want to have a house and all this stuff. They want to have the career and everything before they even start having children. And sometimes they don't even get to do that. You know, they get into their dream job or into any job, and then they just totally forget about having kids. So I think like it's always changing.
Oh yeah, dude. Like me and Cindy, as it is now, we might not have kids. Like, we talked about it, and we've you know, there's times when we're like, maybe we do want a kid, and there's kids around, and you're like, that's kind of cute. But then other times we're just like, we're kind of selfish, you know, like we've been working hard for like, because me and Cindy, we both didn't know what we wanted to do till we were maybe like 21. And I think a lot of people who have their jobs now and are already graduated and have careers are people who maybe knew what they wanted to do earlier, or had someone who they looked up to who like helped them figure it out. Like for me, I had to just kind of find it myself, you know, like this is what I really want to do. I had to go and research stuff and talk to people, and for Cindy too, like she was, because she's doing nursing right now, she had to figure out that, hey, I can do it, you know, because there's also that fear of like, you know, you hear everybody saying like, oh, it's so hard to do this, like some people are like, they fail out and all that stuff. So to even have the courage to try something new, so for her that was also a big step to, you know, because there was no nurses also in her family, I believe. And for me, there's like, you know, I think I was the first one to go to college, right? I think.
Pretty sure. Well, I mean, you're talking about like your family there, like your.
Yeah, I don't know, like from our cousins.
I think Evel or yeah, or yeah.
Yeah, or maybe they, but yeah, you know, it's like we didn't really have like we didn't really have like I guess because we're first generation Mexicans, like Mexican Americans, we didn't really have like somebody already established here who could be like, oh, look, this is what you got to do. This is what you do. These are the jobs that are available. This is this. Like, you know, like my mom worked in a factory for most of her life, and she wasn't like, oh, you should be an engineer or try doing this. Like, this is a good career. or join the FBI because it's possible. You know, you're just like, wow, FBI, and it's like that's impossible. I'm never gonna get to that. And then, but then you start realizing like, hey, it's actually a possibility. You know, or like nurse, like, hey, I guess, you know, I do have what it takes to be able to do this. Like, it's not, you know.
I think that's crazy. I think it's quite. That's crazy what I just said right there. When people, like, I admire the people who, like, know from, like, you know, you always hear those stories, like, since I was a kid, I wanted to be a, you know,
yeah, that's
whatever.
Crazy.
And then they do it, right?
Yeah.
And then they're successful. But I think for most of us, I think it's interesting to think of, like, some of the stuff that we wanted to be, or, like, that we thought we wanted to be when we were younger. Like I wanted to be a garbage man. Like, I really was like, dude, being a garbage man would be great. It'd be dope. I get to hang around, like I'd be like grabbing stuff from the trash all the time.
Yeah.
And like, you know, or like
I wanted to be a vet.
A vet, yeah. I want to be a scientist. I would tell my mom, I want to be a scientist. I'm gonna cure diabetes. I'm gonna find a cure for diabetes. It's such a bold thing to say, you know, like things. And then there was a time where I wanted to be a pilot. Like I was like, I want to be a pilot. That's all I ever talked about.
Yeah.
Never researched it. Never looked into it. But I was
never been on a plane.
Never been on a plane. But I was like, I want to be a pilot.
But you know, like, because we don't really have people who are in those fields who can like really tell us what's up. But now, because of the internet, you know, it's a lot easier now to.
True.
To be able to figure out, like, at least get an idea of what you're getting into. Like, it's easier to be like, well, I want to cure diabetes. And it's like, well, first you got to apply to medical school. It takes maybe a few years. You have to have this, the recommendation letters, all that. And then you have to graduate. And
you have to get
specialized.
I think you have to get funding for stuff like that, too. Like, to do research.
Yeah, and then you have to do research. And then, so, you know, like, it's, but at least now you know what you're getting into and be like, okay, now I know the steps. Yeah. Now I know what to do. Well, now I know I need to try harder in high school.
And that goes with like your life experience, because we were talking about, like, you know what I mean? Like, you maybe in my mind I was thinking like I want to be a pilot, but it wasn't until I got on a plane I was like, holy crap, this is terrifying, that I realized that you know what I mean? Like it's also, it has to do with life experiences, because I can tell you right now that most of the jobs that I had picked, I guess in my head, there was always like either long hours or like I traveled a lot. And I didn't even think about, like, I didn't want to be away from my family. You know what I mean? Until I picked a job where I was pretty much gone. Like, I had like crazy hours, you know, it was like crazy, like sporadic hours sometimes. Shifts would change like on a dime. And then like they would send me out like twice a year, even if it was like a short trip, but it's still. And then I realized, like, you know what? Like, I don't want a job where I don't have to be around my family all the time. So even if
it got worse when we had our daughter.
Exactly. And imagine if I had been a pilot, because pilots, you know, they travel a lot all the time. They stay out for what. And I was like, I didn't realize how I wanted to be around my family. And then I even realized, like, if I stay in the military, I'm gonna be wherever the hell they send me, and I'm not gonna be close to my family. And like, my mom was seeing her granddaughter through a screen all the time, and I was like, wow, like our priorities completely changed. So I think it's interesting, like every decision that you do, it is like a ripple effect. You know, if I had married Melissa, maybe I wouldn't have realized that I didn't want to be away from El Paso, and like away from you guys. And I don't know, maybe the fact that you didn't make it over there in Seattle and you're gonna stay here, like maybe that has something to do with our path or something. You know what I mean? Like, you just never know, man. Like 30 years from now, we don't even know what the hell's gonna happen, dude. No, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's just, you know, I think the key is just staying positive and just keep moving. Like, I don't think you can, if you want to be, I guess the key to success is just keep moving. You know, don't stand still. Although, I mean, you know, because you're not succeeding if you're just sitting there. Nothing's gonna just be given to you.
And the world's not gonna stop moving for you either. So.
Yeah, so, you know, I'm just staying positive. And even if I don't make it at this time for El Paso PD, which there's still a chance I might, you know, I might not. Like, I'm going into it very confident, but you still always have to be prepared for the what ifs. Yeah. I already have like a backup plan in case that happens. So, you know, you got to be ready. Like, the world isn't fair. The world isn't here for you to like.
Yeah, I think that for you. That's what it's crazy. Like, you realize that you're just like part of it, but you're not like in control at all. You're just in for the ride. So you basically just you go where you can, you know, like Like you have to accept the fact
just gotta
that this
roll with the punches, man.
exactly, man. This is a crazy ride we're in, and it's not stopping for anyone. It's just gonna keep going. So you could either stand still and like be like, oh man, I wish I would have been there, but or you could just like you said, you just keep going wherever you're going.
It just sucks that we're limited by age, like that we can. That
Right.
we get older and you get slower, but it was really cool because I don't know if you listened to that Joe podcast, to the Joe Rogan podcast, the Sinclair guy who was talking about anti-aging.
No.
No,
Gotta check
it's a
that
really
out.
good one. Like, because there's a lot of he's like a Harvard professor. There's a lot of new treatments and promising new ideas that they're trying out. I think they're already trying them on. Like, of course, everything they tried on rats first, and they're showing signs
Poor
of
rats.
poor rats, huh?
Yeah.
They're showing signs of anti-aging, and even they look a little younger. So before they can, I think they're already thinking about testing on some of the things on humans, on elderly people.
But
Shit's gonna be
is it
expensive.
gonna be like? Well, I mean, I guess I should watch the podcast, but it's not gonna be like people are people gonna be living longer, or they're just gonna look younger and feel younger.
Well, the way the guy described it is he kind of gave an analogy. He was like, think of a DVD, right? Like as it gets older, it gets a little more scratched and it starts like kind of messing up. He's like, so what we're trying to do is we're trying to go in there and fix those scratches so that the product is good. So yeah, I think they're actually, because they didn't, you know how usually when they talk about, I don't know if you know, like the anti-aging, they talk about the telomeres, like the edges of your chromosomes, how they start deteriorating. Do you know about that?
Well, I mean, I understand like the cell deterioration. I feel I know that's like one of the most challenging things. Like they don't understand how to stop cells from degenerating.
I mean,
so
how long
basically,
are
like,
they
every
trying to
time
make these people live?
What was that?
How long are they trying to make people live? I mean, me personally, I
don't know.
I wouldn't want to live.
It is kind of a slippery slope when you think about like the population, how it is now, and to think that people could potentially live longer. But then again, you have to figure that first, it might not happen in our lifetime, and not to mention there's no guarantee that they're gonna make it like open to everyone.
It'll probably be really expensive.
Yeah, I mean, obviously someone's got to fund that, so big farm.
The way the guy made it seem, he made it seem that they were pretty close, like that they were pretty close to at least fixing some of those scratches, as he was saying. And imagine like just looking at your mom and then seeing her, and it's like, holy shit, you look 20 years old again. Like that's so weird.
That would
Imagine
be weird.
how weird that would be.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know the side effects or just effects of this, but that is an interesting thing. Like we do live in it's the age, man.
And as far as like the population thing goes, I think another one, this cosmologist guy was saying that there's over like millions of Earth-like planets around our galaxy. Populating another planet is not even. It's not impossible, like they're already thinking about going to Mars and stuff.
Right. I think I heard a joke about.
I wonder what the future holds.
I heard a joke. I heard a joke. That's if we don't get nuked before this happens. No, but I heard about this. I can't remember. Jim Jeffries, is that the guy who does that show? And he was talking about that. He just did this comment, which is really true. He was talking about how they're looking at all these like habitable moons and all this other stuff that you can use to move to Earth from Earth. And then they were saying like, oh yeah, and the scientists feel pretty confident that they can make that planet habitable. And then they were saying like, it doesn't make sense that there's a habitable Earth here that needs to be fixed. But they feel like they would have a better chance of just going to another planet that's not habitable and make it habitable. Like, wouldn't it make sense to focus all our effort to just make this one better? You know what I mean? And I'm like, that's a really good point.
Maybe we just effed up this planet.
It's
too much work.
I'd rather figure out how to make this one brand new. I was like, well, we have this one that's not that old.
It's like it's a bit of a fixer-upper, but
yeah, exactly. It's like flip or flop with like humanity.
But it makes all those like sci-fi movies, a little more realistic because you're like, holy, like what if we go to another planet and there's already like some type of like interact with that life form, and it's like 8-legged freaks or something. Remember that movie? Like,
with With the big spiders,
I feel like
yeah.
the first thing we would try to do
I
is,
like that
is
movie.
either shoot them or have sex with them, probably. I mean,
The spiders? Like the...
No. Like he's talking
aliens?
about like an alien life form, yeah.
You get half human, half eight-legged freak. That'd be cool. No, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't mind living. I think what I would like is just having the choice of when I want to die. Like, I don't like it that that it's just like, oh shit, it could just happen at any moment, you know?
Yeah.
Like, and we're slowly going towards it. Like, I love the idea of like, yeah, you can still die, but whenever you want, and then you can live as long as you want. That way, like, if you're just kind of like, okay, well, I've had enough of this life stage or whatever this is. It's time to go to the next thing, and you already feel comfortable with it because you're like, I've traveled to several different planets, and yeah, I think I've loved as long as I wanted to love, and
I loved aliens and eight-legged freaks.
yeah, and I've eaten all the food that I can eat, and I've traveled all the places, and then it's like, okay, now I feel okay with it. So that, I mean, that would be my dream. That would be pretty badass.
But that's like, isn't that like the fault of our, we always talk about how humans have like this super developed brain, but the thing is, we have this like almost insatiable thirst for everything. Like there's always going to be something that more. We're never satisfied, like truly satisfied. The people who say that they're truly satisfied, like, I don't know, I'd have to meet these people and be like, damn, like, what's your secret, But I mean, isn't that kind of the problem?
Think about it like, okay, say you had to listen to the same song over and over and over again for all of eternity.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be like, I probably wouldn't want to do that, right?
No.
So, I mean, there has to come a point in life where everything you've already, I mean, of course, it might take a lot of time. Like, I don't know how long we can live.
Right.
But, like, there probably comes a point where you're like, okay, well, I've done about it. Because, I mean, I'm pretty sure there's also experiences you don't want to have. Like, I don't think I'd want to get raped or, like, or shot, or I don't know. So I don't want to know what that feels like.
You're talking about, like, making your peace with the things that you didn't do, right? But
yeah.
But,
So
but that doesn't.
I feel like in order for me to be at peace at the moment of death, it's once I've done everything that I wanted to do. Because I'm going to feel like, okay, like I did what I wanted. I no longer have like a need for stuff. So I think that's why I'm so persistent with the stuff that I want to do. Yeah. Because I don't want to have that like feeling at the end of life.
That's what we're talking about. Like because that's the biggest equalizer right now is that none of us know when we're truly gonna die. I mean, some of us may think that we can prolong our lives as much as possible. But like when you're talking about like taking away the thing that makes us all equal. And you just want to have that like easy button, like say, okay, I'm done. Like, okay, now I can die. I can punch out. But like that's the thing, you know what I mean? Like I think if you had that easy button to just like off yourself or whatever, then the necessity for that like satisfaction like would either would not be existent or at least it wouldn't be as satisfying. You know what I mean? Like what's stopping you from keep going? Because you know what I mean? Like there's people I've heard of like CEOs and stuff. Like they're like, hey, like I'm gonna become this famous CEO, and then they get there, and they're like, oh, like what now? You know what I mean? They're just like depressed and like they, like suicidal. So like I would feel like that would kind of happen if you like, okay, I have all the time in the world, like infinite amount of time to do what I want to do, and then you get there, and then you're like, okay, well maybe I'll do one more thing. You know what I mean? Like I feel like that's what would happen.
Yeah, I mean, and then you just do it until you're like, okay, well, I'm cool. Like press the button and you're good. You know what I mean? Yeah,
there's just like a bunch of. I just feel like there'd be like a big ol' like it's kind of like an AA thing for people who've done everything. Is it welcome to people who've done everything anonymous? Like my name is Ervin. I've done everything. Hi, Ervin. It's like I just been here sitting. I just have this button in my hand all the time. I don't know if I should press it. Like sometimes I'm like, maybe I'll do something else. But I'm like, wait, I already did that. It's like a support group.
Sounds like a Netflix movie.
Dude, right? There you go. Netflix, pick it up.
Netflix,
pick that shit up. I know that nobody that has anything to do with Netflix is watching this, but yeah, just give me some royalties for that idea.
Right.
I mean, do you ever get like, because the older I get, the more I think about death, I guess, and like at night, I get panic attacks. Do you ever get panic attacks?
You know, it used to happen to me a lot, but not recently because I don't think about it. Like it's hard not to think about something because that's the thing, right? That's like the polar or what is it?
I
The
think
white
that's
elephant.
the secret, right? Just don't think about
That's
it.
the white elephant thing or whatever.
So
don't think about it. Huh?
So you panic about dying, or
Yeah, I think
Yeah, me
because
too.
I let my imagination just kind of run, and
Yeah.
then once my imagination just goes and it goes and it goes,
It's
and
like
it's
a
like,
faucet,
holy
man.
crap. And then I just get like the sudden rush of fear, and it's just like,
No,
and I'm like,
like,
ah, and then I usually have to get up and like punch the wall, or like I just
really, I
yeah.
think that's
Run
crazy
down.
because like I'm not scared of dying. You know, I'm
Well-
scared of how I would die. You know, if
Yeah.
I'd be
Well, it's not even that. Like, well, like not for me.
in pain.
Not for me. Like not so much how I would die, but like because when I would get like kind of panicky or like kind of like this weird like it's just like it's like you're right. It's like a fear like in your stomach, like in the bottom of your stomach. It would be.
It's weird, huh?
It would be the idea of I guess nothingness, like idea of like not thinking. Because I've always been an anxious person, so like I have anxiety.
I think it's not necessarily that. It's just the idea that it's inevitable. That no matter what happens, I'm gonna find out one day.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? Like, no matter what you think about it, no matter like
Right.
if you're not worried about it, if
How
you're
you
scared,
rationalize
like
it.
unless you're like 100% religious and you really believe in your faith and you have that strong faith, I mean, good for you. But like, if you don't, and this moment is like inevitably coming, that's what scares
And
me.
then you'll find out.
That it's just like one day I'm gonna find out. Yeah, one day I'm gonna find
Yeah.
out for sure, and there's nothing I can do about it. Like, and I think seeing my grandpa die in front of me, like that maybe is what triggered it, because it
Damn.
was like, dude, I remember my grandpa, and I saw him, and he's like a funny guy, and I'm a funny guy, and I'm similar to him. So like, no matter, I'm kind of what makes me different. You know what I mean?
Right.
What makes me special? That I'm not gonna end up in that same position, struggling for my last breath.
Right. It's
You
kind
know
of
what I mean?
Yeah. It's like I don't know. It's compared to like because you kind of understand like the whole like the resemblance or the symbolism of like the Grim Reaper, because it's kind of like you were playing hide and seek. Remember, like you were a kid and you would play hide and seek, and you know this person's about to find you.
Yeah.
And like sometimes you would like get the anticipation, you would just like jump out, like okay, no. Like I'd rather just jump out and like tell you that I'm here instead of you coming around the corner and like you're not scared,
Yeah.
but it's like weird, like that anticipation just gets you
I think
Yeah.
there's like a piece to it though, or
to know that
or
that
like
it's over.
yeah, or I don't know, like for when I wasn't here, but when my grandma died, she, like was just like, okay, yeah, it's my time. I'm going.
Yeah.
And she was saying bye to everybody, that she could. And but I don't know, I think she, you just kind of get like this clarity or something, or maybe there is something
acceptance.
there,
Yeah.
because my grandma knew that she would be seeing, her sister soon, and her sister died
Yeah.
not that long ago of cancer, and she's like, don't worry, just tell her I'll see her soon.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you do
Or
hear.
maybe being older also helps.
Well, you
because-
hear about. Sorry. What'd you say?
Oh, go for it, dude.
No, I said well, because you're saying that your grandma was kind of like in that acceptance phase or whatever.
Yeah, she had already said bye to everybody, but like some people who didn't come, and she was just like, with her sister, because her sister had cancer and went through remission and then went back to having cancer, and she's like, just tell her I'll see her soon.
Yeah.
Like
So
knowing-
she was already like ready type thing. Well, because you hear about these like stories like of people who have been in like situations where it's like they probably would have died, but for some reason they survived.
Yeah.
And then they later on they recall what they were thinking about, and they basically say like, well, I basically went through like all the stages of grief and like, a matter of like seconds or minutes. So like they accepted the fact that they were gonna die, and they survived. So like I think maybe that is kind of a comforting thing too. Hopefully that we can all experience that if evidently we do die, we kind of go through all these stages and we can be like, hey, maybe there's a point where you just go like, hey, this is what's gonna happen, and I accept it. So I don't know, maybe that's something to look forward to, Ervin. Just like maybe you'll go through that real fast and just be like, where's the acceptance? Where's the acceptance? You're just like freaking out.
Yeah. So I'm still like in the denial stage.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, obviously, because it's not happening. But like, I think that's all we could hope for. Like everybody's like, I hope I hope I die in my sleep. I hope I don't die painfully. But honestly, I think it should just be, I hope I get through that acceptance, like part of the process, you know.
And maybe when you're older, like it is also different. Maybe it's also easier to accept. I mean, I don't think the same now as I did even 3 years ago, you know.
Yeah.
I can only imagine like if I make it to 80, which is like hopefully
it's a long time, man. Like think about like all the stuff you've done in just like a span of a few months. Like like people say, oh man, I'm exhausted, you know, like after a couple of days of just like working hard. Can you imagine like equating that to like another 50 or 60 years? Like you'd be like, damn, I did so much. Like, so even if you say like that you would like feel like you would want to get all this stuff done, like you don't even know if you would even want to, or even have the motivation to do it.
I think what makes me feel, or just kind of like, how do you say it, consoles me a little bit, is just knowing that everyone around me is going to the same place, no matter what. You know what I mean?
True. Yep.
All living creatures, like everything in life, dogs, fish, humans, everything. Yeah. So like whatever that is, we're all kind of walking towards there together. So Dude, it's not like I'm the only one. Like, man, that sucks. I'm the only one that's gonna die. Everyone else is gonna live.
That's beautiful that you say that, man. Because like that's actually like a perfect, like that's the way I like to think of it too. Like a metaphor. Yeah. Like I love analogies and metaphors, but I always think about it like it's like this vast like forested area, and like everybody starts from the same kind of like relatively the same spot, but it's like, you know, the forest is huge and it's full of trees, and everybody's going towards like one thing, like this one point, and everybody's just walking towards it. But some people, you know, maybe cut across a river, or some people go this way. Sometimes you like see somebody like, oh, what the hell are you doing here? And then like, oh, I'm gonna keep going my way. But at the end of the day, we're all gonna get to wherever we're going, wherever that destination is, and all we're gonna say is like, hey, what was your road like what you see in your trail? Because let me tell you about my trail. Like I saw some crazy shit.
Tripped a couple of times.
Yeah, exactly. I tripped a couple of times. You know, there was times where I was too scared to move, and I just kind of stayed there. I saw a couple of my friends. Yeah, you know, I saw some of my friends, but then I'm like, I'm gonna go my other way now. You know what I mean? Like we walked together for a little bit. So I think that's kind of like a good way to look at it or think about it. I
like that analogy.
You like it?
Quite a bit.
Well, you can use it, man.
I'm using it right now. I'm visualizing it.
Oh man, we're 1 hour in. I don't know if we want to. We probably should cut it off here. I don't want people. If people are still listening.
But why, man?
Why, bro?
Keep flowing, man. There's time limits or what?
No. I mean, we wanted to keep it like. I think this is a good time. I mean, I don't know.
About 15 more minutes.
15 more.
How about 1:30? 1:30. That's it.
1:30. We're gonna finish this off at 1:30. Okay.
Yeah, because there was something else I wanted to say.
Okay. What's up?
But I kind of forgot.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I scared you with that. I was gonna kick you out of the podcast.
No, that analogy was really cool.
Like, thank you.
About the forest thing.
Dude, I love analogies. I love metaphors. When I went to my therapist and she told me how do I visualize my anxiety, and like I came up with this analogy, and she was like, "Wow, that's like no one's ever told me that." And I was all cocky. I was like, "Yeah, damn right. That's a fucking badass analogy. Put that shit in the book." She said she was impressed with my imagination.
Your imagination.
My imagination.
Actually, earlier I was watching this documentary on Netflix. Something Gyro does Dreams of Sushi or something like that.
Oh, Hero Dreams
in
of
Japan.
Sushi. Yeah.
Yeah, that one.
And
it reminded me of when you went to Japan, but I never really talked to you about that.
About Japan?
Yeah.
Dude, isn't it crazy that we're like the only country that's ever bombed another country with nuclear weapons? 2 of them. I always like tell my mom, like, cause I don't know what we were talking about, but we got to this topic of like getting bombed and stuff, and like I was like, yeah, isn't it crazy that we're the only country that's ever bombed something?
Were we talking about my family?
Oh no, yeah, it was your family, and they were saying like, what does it mean everybody doesn't have nuclear power? I was like, no, I'm not talking about other people not having bombs. I'm talking about like literally this is what we did in the U.S. We're like, hey, we got this bomb. I'm gonna drop it on you if you don't stop it. And then they're like, no, you're not. And then we dropped it. And then it was like, all right, nobody else can drop bombs on people. And then we dropped another one. But you just dropped 2. Okay, nobody, but that's it. Nobody else. You know what I mean? Like, and you think like, why do people? Again. Yeah, it's like, why do people hate the U.S.? It's like, maybe it's because we're one of the ones that nuked a blaze. You know what I mean? Like
Twice.
it's crazy, man. And that it's funny because because I stayed in Okinawa, that's I didn't get to go to the main island where Tokyo is, and somebody was telling me the history. I don't know if it's true or not. This guy loved about conspiracy theories, but apparently the Okinawans, because they're the ones that helped the U.S. Like I guess they were, whenever they they invaded, or whenever they were there. I guess like the Okinawans were like a bit more friendly towards the U.S. So like I guess the mainland doesn't like the people from Okinawa, or something like that, because they like I guess they're like traitors or something. But I don't know if that's true. I mean, how long ago was World War II? Like
1944.
Shit, yeah, like
or 43.
20 years ago. No, I was I'm terrible at math.
Yeah, I think it ended in 45. I think.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's a long time ago. So I don't know if like there's still some animosity. But yeah, some crazy stuff.
What about Japan itself? Like, did you get to eat sushi? Did you get to? Yeah. Like, how was the experience?
Oh yeah. Well, the city that I was in is like pretty much. I mean, like because I stayed in a base, obviously. So the city that was right next to the base was actually pretty cool. I mean, it looks like, if you've ever watched like any anime, it kind of looks like that, like like what you would think Tokyo looks like. I got to go to like some cool arcades. Dude, it looks pretty cool, man. Like the arcades are no joke. Like there's like 2 stories, like arcade, and like there's some crazy games that you wouldn't even think like that's an arcade game. Like a lot of their like claw machines and stuff. Or I just saw your face for a second. A lot of the claw machines and stuff like are actual food.
You saw my face? Yeah,
like I think your camera turned on for a second. I know that people can't see you, but I saw you. And the food, man, was pretty cool. It was great. We went to like this sushi place that I guess like a lot of celebrities go there. There you are. People can't see you, but we can see you. I got to eat like some what's that fish? What's that crazy fish called?
The puffer fish.
It's like some some weird. No, I think it's like cuttlefish or something. Yeah, maybe some poisonous fish. That, like
the one that's... It is cuttlefish.
Yeah. Like, only like certain amount of people can can actually prepare it and cook it, because if you cut it,
fish. I think the cuttlefish is the one that changes colors and stuff.
Yeah, it's like a little weird kind of like squiggly thing, but yeah, like it's like some sort of fish that if you don't cut it right, like you can. Like the poison gets into the meat and like you die.
Yeah. You ate that, dude?
Yeah, I mean it tasted like raw fish, but like someone was saying,
it's not even worth it. Is it worth the flavor? Like
no, I mean if you like sushi, yeah, I mean it's just cool. I think just for the experience, and
just be careful.
I mean it tastes like, if you like sushi, the taste of sushi, it tastes good. And
just be careful. Make sure you watch.
No, but it was funny because like the guy was like, I think isn't that weird? Diagram. It's that weird puffer fish, and they're talking about like, and you die if you don't know how to cut it. And then I was like, are you serious? He's like, yeah. And then like we just kind of stayed quiet. He's like, well, we're not dead yet, so I guess
they cut it right.
I guess they cut it right, and I'm still kicking right now.
Oh, you had already started eating it before.
Well, I wasn't sure. Yeah, like because I thought they were just talking about it, because they had brought this like plate out, and I was like, okay, I'm just eating it. And then they started talking about it, and I was like, what are you guys talking about this? Because we just ate it. And I'm like, oh, and this person knows how to do it. And I was like, well, we're not dead, so I guess they did it. I guess they did it.
Like, it's my name's Juan. It's my first day on the job.
Yeah, right. It's like some dude.
And I just started cutting the puffer fish. I cut it real good, but I don't know if I missed a little spot.
And did you order it, or did the people
They
order?
did, yeah.
You're like, you ordered something that could kill us?
I mean, they're like, well, it's not every day you get to eat it. I got to eat ramen, actually. That was the best thing I ate over there. It was like ramen, like actual ramen. And that was like after the 3rd time that I was there, which I was like, man, all this time wasted. Like, dude.
Does it taste anything like Maruchan?
No, man. Like, this is like amazing. Although, that's how I know I'm Mexican, because I got there, right? And I'm eating this like bowl of ramen. First of all, let me tell you something. The small is, like, dude, I was like, you know me, I love to eat, and like I was like, damn, like I don't know if I'm gonna be able to finish this. And it was a small, and I look over, and there's like little like Asian kids, like Japanese kids, like tiny, and they're like eating the big one, like the big bowl, and I'm like, how? Like, where is it all going? I don't understand. It's going into another dimension.
Hey, I'm actually learning Chinese. I forgot to tell you.
Oh. Well, I was in Japan, not China. No, but here, let me tell you.
I could say like you like noodles.
Noodles. I used to
eat noodles.
I used to learn Chinese from Sagwa, on PBS Kids. But no. But let me finish the story because I was gonna tell you that I knew that I was Mexican when I got there, and I was like, "This is some good ramen. That's really good ramen." But you know what would be nice if we had some limon.
Ooh,
But they don't have
limoncito.
lemon or anything like that over there. I'm like, oh man, like I wish they. And they're like lemon. I was like, dude, it's a Mexican thing. I can't explain it.
Oh, I thought,
Well,
I
I
you were
messed
like
up
hot
because
sauce
in
and
Seattle.
Oh, that too.
The what?
It
Hot
was
sauce
like, oh
and
yeah, like
lemon.
some Valentina or something.
Oh yeah, dude. In Seattle, they have a really big Asian community, and I messed up because I didn't have ramen over there. I just had a lot of pho, which was really good. But there they do put lemon and chilito and stuff, so it's
What
pretty
the
good.
fuck?
Yeah.
We went to Fotastics,
Fantastic.
which was pretty good.
Today?
No,
No.
not today. But that was like
It was
a couple months ago.
It was closer to. It was in December.
Yeah, it was good. Like I enjoyed it. It's good. Like the actual
Yeah.
pho was really sweet, tasty.
The one right here by Cindy's house, Viet, it's pretty good. They have
Well, we should
it's
go get
weird
some.
because here they give you cilantro, and
Oh,
like in Seattle, everyone would give us basil.
okay.
I think I prefer the basil.
That's like a Mexican. Like, well, we don't have. ¿Cómo se llama? Basil. No, pues échale
Basil.
cilantro. Oregano. It's
Yeah.
like a freaking menudo.
But the thing is that the guys here, they're like straight Vietnamese, like the owners of that Viet place. So I don't know, man. I guess they're just gangsters.
There's supposed to be some good ramen place called God damn it, what is it called?
Kaidama?
Yes, my friend was telling me about that. My classmate was telling me about that. He said he like swears by that place. Have you had it or what?
No, I've been wanting to try it because it's by UTEP.
Dude, we
But-
should go, man. We should. I think there's a Pokemon stop over there.
Oh my god.
No,
You're
but
still
there-
playing that game?
Yeah, me and my friend started playing it again. Shout out
Oh
to
my
to
God.
Jake.
I actually just ate at Rib Hut like yesterday,
Oh, okay.
Well, I've been watching
and
it.
we all of a sudden Beto at work just walked in. You know who that is, right?
Yeah.
What?
I think he's running for president.
Isn't that the guy that shot Kennedy? No, I'm just
Shut
kidding.
up.
No,
Oh
yeah,
my
yeah,
God.
that's the dude that lost to Ted Cruz, right?
Yeah, because my friend, his name's Sonny. He's a cool guy. Shout out to Sonny the Duck. He remember him?
Yeah.
The Indian dude?
Yeah,
Yeah, I like how you always I like how that's the way you remind us of him. You know, the
he's the
Indian
duck.
dude.
Well, I mean, it's not like
That's-
we meet a lot of
I've met some.
Oh,
Here in-
about his Indian heritage?
here.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so-
And then remember I said dots, not feathers, and you're like, you can't ask me that. I'm like, well, which one is it? And you're like, dot.
It's because I like to refer to him as Indian because he's proud of his heritage.
It's good. It's good, man.
Just kidding. I don't know if he is actually.
You just assumed is.
I just like saying I have an Indian friend because there's not
not
a lot of
every day.
Indians here.
Yeah.
So, like, if I had a black friend, I'd probably also say like, "Oh man, I have a black friend," just because it's like there's not that many black people.
You put in his resume, he puts like contributed to the Indian community of El Paso, and it's like he
Yeah.
bought him lunch one time.
Like, I really wish I had more black friends. Like, I feel like
I mean, there's not that many
I'm
around here,
lacking.
man.
I'm lacking in black friends.
There's not that many.
There's a lot of Mexicans.
Yeah, you
There
can
is a lot of Mexicans.
throw a rock.
Actually,
without
I
hitting
used
the
to have a black friend. His name was I forgot his name, but it was in high school. And in high school, like there was maybe 6 or 7 black students
Yeah.
and together. So like when my black friend came there, we were hanging out, and then he found out there was other black kids, and he just went with them. And then I was just like, what the heck, like.
Gotta stick
he
with your
dissed me.
kind.
Yeah, so I was like, what the heck, man? Like, I'm cool too. Like, why can't we hang out?
We used to have a half Asian friend.
That's because you're a Mexican that looks white. That's why, man. You're kind of like you're on your own league. Well, I mean, you and I are
Actually-
I
pretty
mean,
fair
we're
skin.
we're both of us
Yeah,
are.
all three of
Yeah.
us are pretty
All three
fair
of us.
skin.
Like, I actually had another friend. She's half black, half Mexican. And she took me we went to Dallas this one time to go visit her dad. And it turns out it was the first time she's meeting her dad, which is weird to me because I was like, you couldn't tell me this, like, when we were.
Surprise.
Well, all right. Like, I think he thought I was, like, trying to, like, be with his daughter. I was like, no, not at all. Like, we're just friends. Well, anyways,
That's funny.
him and his, like, homies, I guess you could say, they called me an Alaskan Mexican because I was white looking.
Why Alaskan?
I guess because they assume people in Alaska are white.
They're not though. They're well. I thought like
Inuits,
the Inuits were like kind of yellowy.
I don't know, man. They were probably just
Sorry,
trying
is
to
that
go as white as
racist to say?
possible.
I thought they were kind of like Asian, like
They
tan.
just call me an Alaskan Mexican. It'd probably be more clear if they call me like a Nordic Mexican, maybe.
Right.
I don't know.
A Nordic.
But I don't think that's a thing. Well, anyways, yeah. If any of your listeners are Indian, Black, Chinese, you know, I'm more than welcome to hang out with them. I mean, wait, that's not how you say it, right? They're more than welcome to hang out with me. I need some culture in my life.
You need some culture.
I guess they probably think, you know, like Alaska because the sun.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I mean, I was in Alaska when during the winter solstice. And
oh yeah,
it was pretty crazy. Yeah, man, it was like dark all the time. Well, like the sun would come up like maybe like 4 hours a day, and it would come up like late, like 1, like 1, and it would set by like 4 or 5, and then it'd just be pitch black the entire time.
And it would just be like very.
The sun was there.
It'd be weird. Yeah, it'd be very cold. But it was like it's weird. You know how people say like there's dry heat and like wet heat or humid heat? I think there's just humid heat. Humid heat. There's just such a thing. I just spit all over my pop filter. Good thing that it's there. But I think there is such thing as like dry cold because that's how it felt like. Like it wasn't like it wasn't heavy. Like it's weird. Like you know when you're cold. Oh, you know what it is? It wasn't windy. That's what it was. There was no wind chill hardly ever. So like you would go outside and it was cold, but like it was like you were just inside like a giant freezer. Like it wasn't like you were outside in unless you were like outside like in a blizzard or something. But most of the days it was just like really cold. But like if you just put like a nice warm jacket on, like you could be outside for a little bit.
Unlike in Nebraska where when it's winter, there's wind chill all the time.
All the time. Like, you know, you get like that real feel. Like it's 30 degrees outside. Real feel -37. Like it's just like insane just because of the wind chill. But
okay, it was never that drastic. It was like it's 3 degrees outside. But, real feel is like -16.
But dude, it would get pretty cold. Like my I would breathe in through my nose and like I could feel my nose hairs like freeze. That was crazy.
Really?
Yeah. The summer solstice is just is insane, man, because the sun never went down. Like, never.
You were there during that time, too?
Yeah. Yeah, that was, like, the third time I went. And, yeah, it was during the summer solstice. And, oh, my God, that was way worse because, oh, man, it was just messed up because, like, the hotel curtains were just, like, crappy. And so, like, if you didn't like, plug them up right, like, you would wake up at 3 in the morning and it looked like it was, like, 6 o'clock in the afternoon.
Why didn't you just buy some of those eye cover things?
Damn. Because you didn't think about it.
I just had a Joe Dirt moment.
Damn, dude.
I just had a Joe Dirt moment when he's like, "Why don't you just cut your hair now?"
Like, it took me to tell you this now for you to think about
man,
it. Like,
I'm not even
4 years or whatever.
I'm not planning on going back over there.
Let's go back there so you can buy the eye cover.
I'm gonna re-enlist. I'm gonna get the exact same job, go to the exact same base, go to that trip again, just so I can redeem myself.
Everybody's like fresh. They've been getting good sleep, and you're just all tired all day. You're like, damn, man, I just can't seem to get good sleep.
No,
and they're just laughing at you. They're like, dude, you do know that there's some in the cabinet. There's those sleep covers in the cabinet.
Well, I wish. No, what I ended up doing, I got like a blanket because there was 2 beds, and I got a blanket, and I just like covered the entire window. Cause those
I thought you covered your face with it.
No. No, it's because like I said, it would suck. Like you would wake up like in the middle of the night and it was like super sunny outside. And like not super sunny, but like you could see the sun. It was just like it's like the sun was always setting, but it never finished setting. Like that's what it looked like all the time. It was terrible.
Oh man, that sounds like a rough time over there. And then
the mosquitoes.
You're trying to end it already, aren't you?
No, you're fine. I mean, we have been talking for like an hour and a half.
That was a sigh of let's end it.
Well, hey man, I got kids.
We'll talk about the mosquitoes.
Yeah, that's true.
The mosquitoes. We'll end with the mosquitoes. The mosquitoes were huge. All right, good night, everybody. No, I'm just kidding. No, the mosquitoes were freaking huge, man. Like
in Alaska.
Yeah, like
What?
Like,
I didn't think mosquitoes came out in the cold.
well, no, because in the summer, like, that's like the national bird. That's what they call it. They call a mosquito the national bird of Alaska, because they're huge, dude. Like, I'm talking about like a regular housefly. Like, think about that.
No way.
Like, think about something like that. How big it was. Like, obviously, like their legs are still like really skinny and whatnot. But like that's what it looked like, dude. Like, it was like, oh, like you would hit it,
dude.
like you would hit it,
And
it would like sometimes it wouldn't die. Like, it would just fly away.
It just get more pissed.
I'd be like, oh, I'll come back for you later, bit.
Damn.
Yeah, no, it was nuts, man. It's because there's like rivers and stuff over there. A lot of wildlife.
What's the temperature like during the summer?
Not bad. Like usually like the high was like maybe 80 something, and like
What, dude? It really sounds like you're recommending Alaska right now.
no, dude, Alaska's beautiful. And that was we were talking about earlier. Like, I hated being away from my family. Like, it was awesome. And if Melissa had been there, like, and my family was there, like, we would have a blast. There's like hot springs. There's like just a bunch of woods around. You can see mooses. You can see meese. You can see moose.
Is there a lot of meese?
Moose
Yeah, there's a
eyes.
little moose eyes.
Dang.
And like we went hiking on this like super crazy cliff thing, and it was awesome, man. And Japan was nice too. Like, Japan's cool. It's just that Japan's the complete opposite. Like, that was the most humid place I've ever been in my life.
And then
The
the
walls
monsoon season.
the walls were sweating, man. Like, it was nuts.
And then with monsoon season.
Yeah, I was there for monsoon season. Like, dude, it sucked. Like, there was not even a point of taking a shower. Like, as soon as you get outside, you're like, like shit. Like,
So which place did you like better, Alaska or Japan?
I'm gonna say, I think Japan just takes it because of the food. Because in Alaska, there was like not much variety. And like, we were staying on base most of the time, so all we had to eat was like I think it was like Burger King. It was either Burger King, Anthony's Pizza, and Taco Bell. I think that's all it was.
What? That's lame.
Yeah, it was pretty lame. Or like, I mean, you can go to the commissary and like get like sandwich stuff or something, like maybe some like a microwavable something. Sometimes they had like
You
those.
couldn't go out?
Yeah, but you have to have a car, and like usually the way it worked, I would hang out with the people that fix the planes, the maintainers, and so like every time they wanted to go out, all they wanted to do was like go to the bars and stuff. So like, I was like, well, I don't want to go drink, I just want to eat, and they're like, well, we're gonna go to the bar. I'm like, oh, all right,
Yeah.
I guess.
How are the people in Japan? Are they nice?
Yeah, they're pretty nice.
Because I've heard they're really nice people.
Yeah, it was actually interesting. Like sometimes we would go out to this place called American Village, and I didn't realize what it was called that. Like, because there's a lot of like Japanese stores and stuff like that still, but there is kind of there's like a Red Lobster and stuff like that, like a lot of like Americanized things. But I started noticing that all like the military people that were walking around, like all the Japanese people were like taking pictures of them.
Oh,
Like,
really?
they would take pictures with them and take pictures of them. And I'm like, this is a fucking zoo for Americans. Like, this is for Japanese people to come and like see. Look, there's American. Like that's kind of what it felt like. What's going
kinda like
on,
catching
American
Pokemon.
son? Like this. Let's take a picture with this big old black dude. Like.
Like they're playing
Like, oh, you're
Pokemon. Let's take
Mexican?
a
Let's take
picture
a
with this
picture.
brown
Yeah.
guy. Oh, he's Mexican.
Yeah. I don't think. They never want to take a picture of me. They're
Oh,
probably
because you're light.
that guy's probably like a Serbian or something. like
That's
that.
true. Dude, it's not fair, man. It's not fair being Mexican and not looking Mexican.
What do well, we have an advantage, because until we start talking or until we tell people where we're
like
from,
we're undercover.
it's like a mystery. That's somebody was saying. I think that was on Orange Is the New Black. Somebody said like Mexicans come in all or Latinos come in all shapes and sizes. Like you could see what is it? A blue-eyed, white, blonde, and it would be like from like Venezuela or something like that. I'm like, what?
That's true.
That doesn't even make any sense. That's
actually,
colonizing for you.
I'm taking a trip to Spain in March for like some international travel class.
Nice.
Oh, that's cool.
I guess it's like a study abroad or whatever you call it.
Oh, it's awesome.
So maybe I'll finally fit in with my people. So you know how we have Spanish blood?
Yeah.
But you gotta get the The Castellano. Well, I don't know why I said Castellano like that.
¿De dónde eres tú, chavalo? Ese chico está bien buenote.
You just sound like you're like a snake or something.
Oh, yeah. That did sound snakish.
I'm a snake. Oh, sorry. I'm not allowed to say that. Melissa just gave me this look like, no.
Why can't you say that?
Because he takes it too far.
I always say it like, I keep saying it for like, I have this thing, okay? Let me tell you people about my comedy strategy, okay? You have to do a bit. If you're going to do a bit, you got to do it long enough to where it's funny, and then it starts being funny, and then it becomes funny again. So that's what I like to do. I usually hold out a bit till it's like not funny anymore. So like
and wait for that glorious moment.
It wasn't like I was just going, I'm a snake, and that's it. It was like, I'm a snake. I'm a snake. I'm a snake. Like I was just doing it over over
for long periods of time.
Is it funny again yet?
And me and my friends were laughing the whole time. Melissa was just like, shut up.
Dude, props to Melissa for keeping up. Like,
dude, I know.
For not getting tired.
No. Let's say props to any woman that can put up with like us, like you and me, or any of our cousins. Because like, men in general, let's just admit it. Like men, we're just not good.
Pretty cool.
Cindy's
lucky.
We're just not good. It's not good.
I'm pretty badass. Cindy's pretty lucky to have me.
You're still mad about the whole nose job thing?
Oh man, yeah, angry about that.
That's another podcast right there. We can make a whole podcast about that. Well, listen, man. I think we're gonna cut it off here. We can definitely talk after. We can keep talking after this is done, but
I'm most likely gonna go to sleep.
Yeah, we can keep talking after this is done, but we're gonna cut it off here. I want to thank you for being on this. What's this, fourth episode? Fourth episode of the podcast?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I think it's fourth one. So, yeah, man, thanks for being here, and you're always welcome to come by.
Can I do it again next week?
We'll see. I think we're trying to get some other guests, some more better people. No, I'm just kidding. I'm branching out. You remember that guy, the guy that we talked about before we started? You call him Moses?
Oh, yeah.
By the way, shout out to Fire Lane Podcast because they had me on their podcast. This last episode I was there. So if you guys want to go check them out, Fire Lane Podcast. Yeah, you can go check them out on their Facebook page, or you can just go to Podbean, which we're also available on Podbean, which is an app that you can get on the Google Play Store. And
that's crazy.
And Apple,
everybody's doing podcasts now. Huh?
I know, right? It's like, so it's really saturated, really, if you think about it. But this is just for fun. So Podbean, and you guys can follow me on Instagram at Reject Bean Soup, and Hispanico is my Snapchat, but that'll be on the. If you're watching this on YouTube, it's on the link in the description. But that's pretty much it, man. I don't know if you want to give them your handles and stuff. I don't know if you want people stalking you.
Nah, it's whatever. Actually, I had one more thing to say.
You had one more thing to say.
Can I say it?
Sure.
Oh, yeah. It was just like, because you know how we were talking about the whole death thing? I had one more thought about it.
All right, we're going to finish off with Ervin's thought of death.
It's just, isn't it crazy? Like, do you ever think about how crazy it is that, like, this is kind of like a movie where, like, we don't know what the heck, how we got here, where we're going, or what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But, like, isn't it weird? Like, we're in a movie, dude. Like, it's like, do you ever stop and think how crazy this is?
So, sorry, just to understand the metaphor, are you saying, like, you're the one watching the movie, or somebody like, watching our movie? Oh, we're in the movie. Oh, okay.
Like, this is some crazy horror movie that we're in, where it's like, yeah, like, you started off life, like, not knowing where the heck you came from, and now you're just doing things that you think you like, and then you don't know what's going to happen in a couple of years. And then it's like, oh, okay, well, stay tuned for the next episode. And it's like, what the heck? Who's watching this crazy show? You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, God.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't know. I said, like, super simplistic. God.
I feel sorry for anyone who's watching our life, because our life's pretty boring.
It's a little monotonous right now.
I don't know. It's just that's a thought that comes to my mind a lot, and I'm just like, how do people like not trip out on? I mean, I'm sure they do, but it's just like I always think about that.
Yeah, I used to think of my life as like a book.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I was younger, I used to think of it as a book. Like, can I just skip some pages and
Yeah. For me,
read ahead?
for me, that happened because like I was getting bullied a lot, so I'd always think like, well, maybe this isn't in my life. Like maybe I'm just reading like a really fucked up story about some kid who's getting his ass kicked all the time, and then like eventually I'll stop reading, and then I can get onto the actual life, and then like, oh, I'm still reading this damn book.
Can't seem to put it down.
How many pages is this book? How many
It's kind of ridiculous, though, huh? Like this crazy life thing, whatever it is.
I don't know, man. I think we need to do like I tell Melissa we need to drop like some acid or something so we can get some perspective. I heard that stuff like opens your mind, man, because it's like what's that MDH or whatever?
Oh, DMT.
DMT, like I heard that's like a thing that your brain produces, but like in small amounts. So like you just take that like straight up DMT, like it's supposed to open your mind. I'm not gonna do it all the time. I just want to like, do it at least once, like go for that ride. Mike Tyson said that it was crazy. He said when he went through it, he was like, ah.
Yeah, maybe when I retire, man. Maybe when I'm old, I'll be like, okay, I'm ready for it.
Dude, when we're old.
And by that time, you could probably like get it like in like edibles.
That's true.
Can I have a DMT cookie?
That'd be nice.
Yeah, if you could just do like, dude, I'm telling you, we should do like pop brownies, you and I. Like just do some edibles. We don't have to smoke weed. We just do some edibles.
Oh my god, no, dude, I can't do that stuff.
Not you. No, I'm talking about me.
I'm a man of the law.
She's looking at me like, I already said no, you son of a bitch.
Because I've never smoked pot. I've never done that. So
smoking is weird. Like it's kind of crazy. Like I think if I was gonna do something like that again, I probably would do some like edible or something.
But I have my reasons for not. I
know.
And I've told you, and you keep pushing it for some reason.
I'm not.
Stop pushing it, Greg.
I'm a drug pusher. Okay.
Kidding.
All right, we're gonna end with that note that I'm a drug pusher.
I'm just gonna keep talking, dude.
Okay, well, like I said, we could talk after off the podcast, but go ahead.
No, because then we're not gonna talk on the podcast. I only want to talk to you now on the podcast.
We're only talking podcast.
All right, the only with you. I mean, even if you text me, it's gonna be like, "Is this on the record?"
It's off the record.
We're just gonna end up like cutting this podcast and starting a new podcast.
Yeah, like this is a whole new day. We're gonna pretend like it's a whole new day, whole new intro, whole new topic.
When is this? When is this gonna go up? When am I gonna be able to listen to
this?
What's today? Today's Friday. Yeah, probably.
Sunday,
I'll try to have
Saturday.
it up. I'll try to have it up either. Yeah, probably a Saturday night or like Sunday morning or something.
And do you edit it? Like, do you take away all the dumb stuff?
No, it's pretty raw. Usually, all I do is like trim the ends so that you don't hear me clicking on and off
and making it sound good.
Yeah.
Well, all right then. Good luck with that.
Good luck with it. Yeah, I'm gonna have to do some work now. But all right, man. We'll talk to you later. And thanks for being here, man.
Thanks for having me. Is that what you wanted me to say?
Yeah, that's what I wanted. I just wanted you to say thanks for having me.
I'm not gonna say
damn gratitude.
Just kidding. No, I'm not gonna say it. I'm gonna say you're welcome. You're welcome for letting me have you.
All right, Ervin, ladies and gentlemen. See you guys next time. Bye.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Bye.
Bye.